Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's edition of Beyond the Ordinary Show. Tonight we have Carol Collins on. She'll be speaking about illuminating your potential. And we're going to be talking about movement of the mind, how receiving actually takes place, the connection, partnering with your non-physical teacher. What does that mean to you? And does that excite any part of you? And the rhythm of body meditation, accept and emotional healing to awaken. And Carol's ability to go deep and wide and her connection to her channel and the way that she shares that so we can receive a purification of truth is what I want to call it. Because it is direct messaging. And who's the messaging from? Well, Carol channels the teachers and their existential curriculum, the essential material. And it's everything the inner mind needs to awaken into mastery. So she has a curriculum that encompasses extraordinary depth in every human being's need to know to fulfill our life purpose. Collective consciousness manifesting with ease, health and wellness through quantum healing and intuitive investment, what they call the 4 pillars of learning. And again, Carol shares so much. This is going to be an amazing conversation, a beautiful transmission to receive. And I know about that you'll be inspired after today's call. We will get into live Q&A. There's an extremely special offer that we're going to get into as well. So I'm looking forward to you diving in with us. And Carol, with that, welcome to the show today.
Hi, it is so fun to be here. Thanks for having me back. And the teachers, of course. And, illuminating your potential. Illuminating is a word that they have been using all year long. I know endeavor is a word that they have planned for next year. And it's just fun. They say, the rock concerts of the 80s and the outdoor concerts of the 60s, and I guess a little bit now, but not as much. It's the tour. It's the Illumination tour and the Endeavor tour. They said, why not? Just start bringing people from all over the globe, and why not put channelers on a platform in a stadium, like a huge stadium, and one by one, let people just see what channeling really is, and feel the resonance with it. I'm feeling tingles now on my right hand side, on the face, a little bit strongly on my cheek, on the right hand side, and on my right leg. That always means that emotions are being healing. It's the way that they draw energy through the solar plexus chakra, and they divide it out. So they kind of tingle my body on the right or tingle it on the left, whether it's thought patterns or whether it's emotional patterns. And as a channeler, having the existential teaching come through, it is, there are some times where I could just sit and listen to them teach. I put it on recording or on video, or I'll write my questions down, and then as they teach, I pause and I like to write, with my hand on paper. It just makes it seem more palpable. And then also my questions start to flow. One of the things with illuminating your potential, it is increasing your intuition. And automatic writing is one of the first stages to do that. And sometimes when you've got that, I use pencil. They always tell me to use a pen. They said it's bad law of attraction to use a pencil, but I like pencil. And they say, we'll deal with it. But when you're writing and you're moving your hand across the paper and you have thoughts going, but then it's like a second thought comes right behind it. They said it's almost always verbal intuition, and to go with it. And then stop right then, flip the page and write that new thought on a separate page, and then do something, underline it, earmark it, something that's unique to you, to identify that was an intuited thought, and then just start writing about that topic. They said the mind produces the wavelength of joy, not just absorbs it or adopts it or uses it, but it creates the wavelength of joy. And so that was another whole conversation that we had. How do you alter what you are manifesting? How do you step into, your own most beautiful self, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically? How do you do that? You have to create a new percentage within the grid. You have to take negative emotion and you need to soften it. And that's what non-physical beings do. That's what healing really is. And then you need to create new quantity of positive, this positivity movement. It's powerful and it's useful. And so when they taught about the mind being able to create the wavelength of joy, that's the only emotional way it can draw. It can draw emotion. We can draw emotion in law of attraction. It's the subconscious mind. We can draw positive and negative emotion all the way into our memory. But the wavelength of joy is the only one that the subconscious mind can create on its own. And when it creates it, well, then it's amplified. So we have the ability to add not just thought into the world and share and exchange it by that vibrational energy. But when you walk the path of conscious living, and then the inner mind becomes in alignment with your non-physical teacher. Some people say guide, spirit guide, whatever you want to call that. But it is a being. Then it can learn to create that wavelength. And then we all have it because, every thought that's ever been thought remains in the world, and emotions are a thought. And so it's just amazing information that they bring forward. And that's, one of their newest things is, intuition is not just quick, move your hand so you don't injure yourself, or, look down, tie your shoe. It's look to the left, not the right, because your friend is over on that side of the street. And all of that can certainly be good law of attraction or intuition. They both, they're both helpful and good. But, when you bring in the verbal construct and the emotional construct, well, now we start getting into the nuts and bolts of how do we improve our chances for manifesting? How do we reach our potential? And whether it's, soul intentions and that kind of potential, or whether it's just, my potential to beat cancer, or to, get that raise, or have that second or third child that you've been going for and it hasn't manifested. Manifesting is not just objects. Sometimes it's life experiences, and sometimes it's healing. And so when they teach the pillar system, they teach it in a way that creates what they call resonance, which is the willingness of the unconscious mind to allow healing. And so the 4 pillars are the foundational material. It's conscious life and who we really are, and what non-physical life, continuity of life is real, and what life is like on the other side. And pillar 2 is idea reconstruction, which is essentially law of attraction. How do you get more of what you want and get rid of the stuff that you don't want? Pillar 3, non-physical healing. And they talk about what healing is, why it is, who does it, and how we can participate, but that we're not the healers. And then pillar 4, intuitive development, which aligns our subconscious mind with the non-physical energies and that non-physical teacher of ours. And then magical manifesting can happen. But the education is part 1, silent meditation is part 2, and then choosing happy, part 3. And then you're unstoppable. Over time, you become unstoppable. And it's illuminating for this year, endeavor for next year.
So when you say it's illuminating, is it illuminating because we're at a place that we are consciously ready to activate, or to, I won't even call it activate, to be more aware of the wavelength of the subconscious so that we can choose joy?
The subconscious mind is the chooser. We can influence, but it is the chooser. And it's even more simple than that. They say you need to illuminate, and then you need to use it. It's like you shine a flashlight and then you reach for something. And so you have to illuminate, and then you endeavor to use it. And so they have a method, and they have this beautiful way of crafting ideas to capture the attention of people, but they're not superficial. So this year it's about healing, and Sumari and that it is the healing agent. It is the healing agent, and non-physical intelligence is the instrument, and the two combined creates the emotional recalibration. That's how we heal the emotional self. When the emotional self heals, then life gets better. It's been about that, almost not exclusively, but there's been a heavy push on it, and also about non-physical life. Moving into 2025, it's going to be, now that we've talked about pillar 1 and 3, 1 and 3, 1 and 3, 1 and 3, moving into next year, it's going to be 2 and 3, 2 and 3, 2 and 3, and then bringing, the teaching of pillar 1, non-physical life, back into play where it fits in. And then, beyond that, then it's pulling in the suite of intuitive development. They have a plan, and it's to make existential curriculum understood. When it's understood, at least in those bite-sized chunks, and they say what they've been teaching so far is it's like pre-level 1 and level 1. Is that it gets deeper, it gets exquisite, it gets sci-fi-ish. They said if you had the ability to see what your subconscious mind can see, you would see vibrations emanating upward and downward mostly. Thoughts move upward and emotions move downward into the ground, into the rock, and then upward into the air. And then you would see swirls in a figure 8 pattern moving in a flat. I said they're very careful here. They say it's not horizontal, but it's flat. So if, let's say you have a hill, it's horizontal to the angle of the hill, which isn't necessarily, horizontal with the ground level. And so it's a movement, a figure 8 movement within the shift of thought and emotion. And then you've got circular patterns of energy that cause negative emotion to soften. That's historical thought. And so they say if you could pull yourself back and almost pretend that you're in a cosmic amphitheater and you're listening to some amazing storyteller about how this magical world was put together, they said that a lot of the ideas would probably come forward because intuition can see them. And there are invisible movements of energy, non-physical energy. We can't feel it, can't perceive it, can't touch it with our physical hands, but our subconscious mind does see it and moves us towards it or away from it. Towards it if law of attraction is presenting as positive, and moves us away from it if negative emotion or negative law of attraction is presenting. It's just an opportunity to receive disappointment. And it's so when they start getting into law of attraction and manifesting, it's about what the wavelengths of emotions are, how we verbalize them, how we identify them, how we define them, and how the inner mind responds to it. It's been a good long while that, the world's population has been talking about use positive emotion, focus on the positive, align with healthy thoughts and healthy living, and then you feel better physically and emotionally and intellectually. You have clarity. And that's good. And now it's the shift energy from last summer and then also summer of next year is improving the intuition level of people everywhere. And then it's time to use the intuition. We absorb it and we create the willingness, and then it's time to use it. And so it's a combination of, they just have a plan. When they brought the term, the essential material, the 4 pillars of learning, I loved it because it defined something. And I said, okay, now tell me what that is about. And when they defined the 4, I'll say books of knowledge, because it's kind of a fun way to put it. They said there are 9 books of knowledge, and in this physical environment, this platform Earth, we use 4. Other arenas are using a different combination of the 9. They said of the 9 books. In the non-physical place, they say there are guilds and there are ways of doing things, and energy is shifted into the physical plane, and then we use it. And it's a way of learning who we really are. It's fairly common to, at least in communities like this one and the ones that we both participate in. We are non-physical beings having a physical life experience. And that phrase, those words are being examined and then taught. What do they mean? What is a non-physical being compared to a physical being? And why are we having a physical life? Were we bad? Are we being punished? Is this a learning environment? Is this karma-based environment? Are we all high intellects in the non-physical space on the other side? What type of being incarnates here? Those are pillar 1 type of questions that fascinate me. While we're on the topic of pillar 1, and then they'll switch to pillar 2, and then I just find all kinds of other questions, and also engage in small roundtable kind of things with a handful of people that are really into asking questions, receiving the answer, and then coming up with more questions. And it's a way of drawing information.
I'd love to interrupt you just a second. Can you give us again an overview, just a recap again of pillar 1, 2, and 3, so that we can navigate more, because there's so much that's lighting up here. I want to make sure that everybody has a foundational reference.
Yeah, sure. So the essential material, the 4 pillars of learning. Pillar 1, non-physical life. They call it the foundational material. Who non-physical beings are, who we are as human beings, and why we're having a physical life. So it's conscious reality. Pillar 2 is law of attraction. What it is, how we use it, what it is not, and how we manipulate our thoughts so that it works for us. Pillar 3 is healing, and that the healers are non-physical beings, and that people receive healing, but we can also participate in different activities. The electricity has, within the creation of the substances that are now known as electricity, in the creation of the substances, there is non-physical intelligence that heals thought. Electricity heals thought. But you have to understand what that means. And so it's diving into the questions. Healing is pillar 3, how it's done and with what and who does it. And pillar 4 is intuitive development. So improving your intuition, moving through the clairvoyant mediumship all the way into verbal channeling, and how to get there and how to make sure that it's accurate. And what they say is, when you think about it, it is the stepping stones. You have to understand who you are to understand how the subconscious mind works. So who you are is pillar 1, how the subconscious mind works, and how we are manifesting second by second. That's pillar 2. How negative emotion gets recalibrated, and how healing really works to create more happiness and joy and longevity of our life. And then when you have those 3 combined, then intuition naturally rises. So they said it's sequential on purpose, and it's what the subconscious mind needs to align itself to healing and to wellness and to prosperity and to just being friendly. Yeah.
I love the pillars and the way you present them. And one thing that I greatly appreciate about the way that you teach is that you just don't talk about that. You have practical applications and tools that, as as we immerse ourselves in those tools, in those experiences, and dedicate to the path, it does provide an opening towards, if you're wishing to channel, to channeling, to see what type of channeling comes in, what you're open to, if it's intuition that's guiding you, or if it's really a direct connection with a non-physical teacher that's guiding you, and how to differentiate all of that. And how does someone know when they're in true connection with a non-physical teacher, and it's not the ego or something else that's guiding, or life experience that's guiding the direction? Because there's a lot of people that want to open up to their psychic abilities, and that's one form of a wavelength of intelligence that's coming through. There's of course the intuition, but then there's channeling, which is very different for you.
Yes. I will describe it the way they describe it. Psychic ability, telepathic. Think of psychic as person to person, human being to human being. We tune into a word choice or a wavelength of emotion or an idea, not a full sentence. So we're not full telepathic beings because we use our voice instead of our mind. And so psychic is tuning into a fragment of thoughts and emotions from people. So psychic is person to person, not from non-physical beings. Intuition is receiving from non-physical beings, but it's receiving to one component of the subconscious mind. Clairvoyant and channeling, which is what they call mediumship, is receiving in a different component of the subconscious mind. But in that component, it's more exquisite. It is, they just say it's fancy. It's harder. It's receiving, translating, and then presenting. And so there's movement of the mind that is more exquisite. So to pull it back for everybody, and this is pared down teaching of what the subconscious mind is. We can't find it because it's not in our body. It's in our cosmic body or non-physical body, quantum body. Many people have an understanding of the energy field that surrounds our body. Inside that energy field are non-physical structures that aid us, and the subconscious mind is in there, not in our physical body. And so part of the non-physical mind attracts energy. And energy is thought and emotion. And thought is subjects and experiences and situations. And so one part of the subconscious mind attracts. That's law of attraction. You attract what you think about. You attract what you are emoting about. So whatever your emotions are, you're drawing more of that to you. Whatever your thoughts are. I like t-shirts and sweatpants. I like bow ties, and I've been on the internet seeing all kinds of things of Lady Diana. So I would say, jewels and tiaras. Whatever is active on your mind, you are drawing more of that energy to you. So hopefully it comes with positive emotion. And so one component of the subconscious is drawing information and putting it in your memory. And the other component is using what's in your memory and creating with it. So you have the creator within and you have the attractor within. Those two combined is how we manifest. And so when people say that, the universe is helping me manifest, or law of attraction and the universe is one, they say your law of attraction is your own personal universe. And we are supported by non-physical beings. And we are guided and those things. So psychic nature is tuning into the thoughts and emotions of person to person here in the physical plane. Intuition is one way of receiving from, I'll say, your guide. I use my non-physical teacher or my non-physical best friend. I like that one. But my teacher, and I capitalize it because they do. And so one component is receiving. The manifester within has the ability to receive and then manifest all by itself, and not wait for the other component to receive and then translate and then hand it off to manifest. So, one is more movement, more exquisite movement. It's more of a process. But if the process has not been awakened, if that has not awakened, well, then there's always the fallback choice of going directly to the manifester. They say it's only the human being's mind that says there's limitation. I only have one way out. You have one front door. You have one way in and one way out. They said it's not that way with the non-physical mind. There are more than one way. There's more than one way to help us understand how we are being guided. And so intuition is guidance directly to the manifestor within, and clairvoyant and channeled is guidance in conversation and healing that is going to the receiver, who then has to hand it to the manifestor. So it's a little bit of movement. But psychic is person to person. And so we use psychic constantly, and we use intuition sometimes. And to bring out our mediumship ability, which is clairvoyant and channeled, silent meditation and a lot of energy work to reduce fears and limitations and unconscious beliefs that hold us apart from receiving those glorious conversations.
And how do you teach people to get, I'll call it for our sake now, to get out of their own way as they're channeling, to understand that they're receiving in a way that they can translate without interrupting the flow from the non-physical teacher?
Oh, gosh, this is James to Speak, Carol's Guide. I would just like to say hello, everyone, first of all. And it is the flow of conversation that is nice and easy. Now, there's going to be a couple of you that can see some yellow light in the room, or perhaps some sparklies in the back, or would appear to be in the back. That's non-physical energy. You can't get in the way. You can't get in the way. It is the human mind that would put itself in front and say, I believe that I can interrupt. I believe that I can do well. I believe that I can fail. But when the mind of a human being is in the mode of receiving, we see long ahead of time what the mind will do. There are no surprises from our perspective. There are always surprises from the human perspective. But when we see the mind is shifting into position, we encourage it, we swirl energy around it, and we draw it closer to us. When it is needing to exercise its own free will and pull back from conversating with us, we see it long ahead of time, and we shift the energies so that it can do so. You can't. Now, you can contaminate the message, and you can not manifest the message. And there's a great number of people who, when their life completes and they review their Akashic, we just say review the grid, they are the same thing. They will identify that they did have, in fact, unmanifested mediumship. Images are oh so easy over the age of 65. Verbal capacity, more towards 70, 75. It's a definite by 80. Men and women equally. But who wants to wait that long? And some of you don't make it that long, and we don't want that to happen either. You have YOLO, and we know that you do, and you do, although you have many lives, you personally have one. And we're here to help you make the most of it. You cannot interrupt, because we see your interruption coming and we stop the flow of conversation. Now, isn't that interesting? We are unlimited. And so we see all. Now, what the mind will do, though, is it cannot tell you, it could not, it might not tell you that the flow of conversation has paused, and it could bring forth human-inspired thought. We don't want that, of course. That would be contamination. But contamination can be minor or it could be harmful because the mind will insert. And if it inserts in the same category or with similar thought, the mind will simply feel rapture with the frequency that is offered and surrounding it. And then it will simply feel, I like that energy.
Mm.
I like those words. I have something to say that are very similar to those words. And then the human being will keep talking. The mind does not, the non-physical mind, does not always respect the pause, but we see it coming and we create a pause. Worry not about interrupting. Just do your silent meditation in that daily fashion that we are guiding you to do, and we train it out of you. The heavy lifting is on our end, but the motivation needs to be on your end. Over to you, John.
I love where this is landing because it's truly empowering. Can y'all feel that? It's like it's none of this is beyond. It's what's motivating us. Where there's a path, Carol and James. There is a path. Um, and I always want to encourage people when they find a path that speaks to them. And again, that's part of that emotional healing that comes through if we allow it. That joy, the wave of joy of creation, it's truly profound. And when the Tribune opens for that opportunity for the flow of that to really rise up in us, it's it's not just having the motivation of that joy, but also finding, again, the channel that we get to direct it in. And I find that again, it's the path to that expansion, I believe, is just as important as trying so many different things that we get lost in the opportunity.
We like where you're going with it, and this is a group of teachers to speak. We'll just say the teachers. When you get lost in joy, when you get lost in the moment because your enthusiasm has swept you away. Now, those are some beautiful words, right? But, and they are well-meaning, and they do provide some visual that someone is happy and that someone is fully enjoying the moment, swept away with enthusiasm. What the mind does is it understands that, and that does go into the non-physical mind. But at the same time, they flip a switch and a wavelength of confusion gets added to the grid. Because enthusiasm is an emotional wavelength and it cannot be swept away. And so, although it seems trivial, the mind is more like a computer, more like a database. All right. So the soul within, it's not a soul within. We love you all so very much, but your soul is not within. Your soul is still in this non-physical place where we are speaking from, but there are lines of intelligence. Some of your non-physical intelligence is in the non-physical airspace surrounding your physical body. It's part of your non-physical intelligence that is here with the physical body, but not the entire soul being. Your soul being is at home in deepest meditation, non-physical home. So it's not a being on the inside. It's wavelength, magnetic. You all have a great many channelers in the world. Magnetic service, magnetic attraction, magnetic alignment, electromagnetic field of manifesting. We do bring that word in often because it is accurate. Magnetic draw and magnetic evaluation to magnetically manifest. It's how you do things because they are magnetic lines of energy that have intelligence built in. That's your subconscious mind. Now, see, we're just diving into all kinds of things. And so those intelligent lines of intelligence, they're more like a database, swept away with enthusiasm. Well, let's just say if someone said that and nothing else for a year, in about another 5 or 6 months, they will fall down at least one time, swept away with enthusiasm just by saying that. And if you think about millions of people around the world today are doing mantra-based meditation, we call that quiet contemplation. Meditation to us is silence. So quiet contemplation, mantra-based, affirmation-based manifesting, it's a powerful way, but you need to use your words, human beings, in a way that's helpful, because you can say so many beautiful things in so many beautiful ways, and it might be understood by all of your wonderful incarnate human friends. But in addition to that, you can have a wavelength of I don't know and a wavelength of confusion added to the grid. And over decades of time, it can cause you to be forgetful or slow to decide on things, and you don't want that. Use your words and use phrases that are meaningful. And then add colorful behind it. And then simply add, well, you know what I mean. Because the mind is like a database and everything is partitioned, and then you have what you have. We know we are the framework of the essential material. It is not superficial by any means, and we do teach in very general terms when needed. And we talk about things at what you would call the 50,000 foot level, because sometimes people need that, and sometimes it's good and proper for the conversation. But other times, in the world today, what we see is people are frustrated with lack of true manifesting. There's this gentle movement to remind people, be happy and then, be happy and then. Trust your instincts, go with the flow. And we say all of that is good as long as you're using positive emotion. But if go with the flow, if you're using positive emotion, do not go with the flow. Turn around. Turn around, turn around, turn around, swim upstream. Do whatever, get out of the boat, run up the hill, whatever you got to do. If you're using negative emotion, do the opposite. Back it up to a place of feeling good, and then start again and go with the flow. And so there is understanding, but we like to tweak your understanding a little bit. And also the technicalities are intentional, because some of you are needing more instruction, not just motivation, not just encouragement, but instruction. Tiny little boxes is a manifestation tool. Tiny little boxes all in a row. And decide what it is that you are wanting. Let's just say world peace, to be grandiose. From one human being perspective, in each tiny box, write one idea about what world peace means to you. And then when you have something within all of those boxes, now you have something to align your words with. And so let's say that you have 20 boxes. Choose one box a day and look at what your subject is and what your thought pattern was about world peace, and then use your words. So we'll just say, John, to you, what's an idea that you might align to a box that has to do with world peace?
Service, being of service.
All right. So in a moment in time, once a day, then you might focus on box number one, being of service, and then you align words. I like intuition. I like manifesting intuition for me and for others. I like when intuition is manifested globally. I like joy. I like happy. I like all things like it. I like when people are friendly, and I like when I notice it. I like when I engage with it. I like when I witness it. I like when I read it. I like when I watch it. I like when I listen to it. I like when I be it. I like when I be joy, and I like when I be fun. And I like when I am thinking about these kind of things, because this feels good. And this is either positive law of attraction or guidance from beyond. And I hope that it's guidance from beyond, because when it is, then I will have more of both. And then you stop, move on with your day. And then the next day, choose box number 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5, and however many you have, and then cycle back through and do it again. We call it free flow. And so being of service to others, well, here's how it works, John. Thought is a wavelength, and it enters into your non-physical mind. It is the Akashic. It is what you will review, but it also enters into your physical airspace, where it commingles with other thought. And then you magnetically align to thought, and that's how you innovate, and it's how you come up with good ideas. And it's also why you get angry and decide on a punishment, because thought is thought is thought. And so how are you aiding world peace with service to others? Idea? Free flow, using the word I. Because in the wavelength of thought that gets added to the airspace and commingled with all other human being thought is one sentence: I like manifesting, intuition. I like friendly. And so let's say that in this moment in time, one of your viewers says that out loud. The thought goes into the viewer, and the thought also goes into the air. But you're also here on the internet, and so it goes into the internet, which transcends all thought corridors in your physical space. And so now, let's say you, John, soak in that viewer's thought. I like manifesting intuition. Now, so when the viewer said I, it meant the viewer. But when you soak it in, the I now means John. And it gets stretched. Positive thought with positive emotion gets stretched by non-physical beings into every thought corridor. And from there, it just floats and waits to be magnetically duplicated. So how do you be of service? Use a lot of I love and I like statements of anything healthy that would be good for the world to manifest. That's how you do it, person by person, 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 10 by 10, 1,000 by 1,000. World peace can be yours. Human beings, population, it can be yours, and it is yours in the moment that you are choosing it. And that's all you have to remember. World peace is person by person, and eventually it'll be community by community, and then nation by nation, and then as a whole. But it's not for you, human beings, to make happen. The responsibility for that rests on the shoulders of non-physical beings who do that work. We guide you and we teach you in these lovely conversations, and we guide you and we teach you, and we will do so forevermore. So it's for you to use. It is ours to teach, yours to use, ours to teach, yours to use, ours to teach again, and yours to use. Use it, use it, use it, use it. Adopt it, use it. But let us teach it. Teach others to listen to the teaching, and teach others to use it. But let the teaching be from non-physical beings, because we align our mind with those that we are speaking to, and we bring forth exactly what they are needing, not just what seems to be on the surface. We see behind the scenes, and then we deliver. And it also keeps the vibration of it accurate. It is good to have these webinars, podcasts, interviews. Attention, 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 human beings. Attention is needed here on things that are healthy, on things that cause your mind to expand towards health and healing. Right? That's what we're all here for.
Thank you for that reply. And I'm trusting that y'all are feeling into that, and how potent and how joyful and how constructive reality creation, how that's really in the palm of our hands to choose, in the way that Carol and the non-physical beings that are coming through right now are sharing with us. Y'all, we're going to get into the special here in just a minute. Chris, put the link for the special offer in the chat box because this is about extraordinary mediumship. And again, the way that Carol and the guides, the non-physical beings, lay down the practical applications. It's just tremendously empowering. And I highly recommend any of you whose heart is calling you into that connection within yourself and that communication that's possible. This is really something that I would encourage you to dive into and to commit to. As y'all are opening the page, Carol or whoever wants to answer this, you're providing a pathway, but it's up to us to choose and to apply that pathway as an experience. And again, I love our communities and I love the attunements and the vibrational awareness that we offer to one another in meeting and community in this way, that describing what's possible, encouraging, lifting in so many different ways. And it's extraordinary. But we're at a time that we have to apply. We have to take this step by step. We have to take the little boxes and follow the trail to really access the level of consciousness that we know that's available and that so many of us are consciously seeking.
Yeah. I love the analogy of the tiny little boxes, and they do correct me. They say, Carol, it's not an analogy. It's not. It's how it works. It is partitioning. And when you think about something that you're wanting to manifest, and maybe it is channeling, but maybe it is a BMW, or maybe it is a new best friend, or maybe it is a pair of white tennis shoes that doesn't get scuff marks on it the first day. Whatever it is that you're trying to manifest, nothing is trivial. And here's why. Because everything is an opportunity to see if your non-physical mind will align with intuition. What about running? Will my mind use intuition? What about writing? Will my mind use intuition? What about wanting something really, 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 really bad? But even when you say that, just point it out, want it really, really bad. Well, I want it bad. I want it bad. That's the contradiction in the way that we express ourselves. I really, really want it. I really, really want it. I really want it. Really want it. And then our words work for us. But many times we choose a box that's further down the line. And when we're filling in those boxes, when you do that tool, when you fill in those boxes, the ideas that come to mind are the ones that your mind is offering to you. And so keeping your eye on the prize, the whole prize, is paying attention to each incremental idea that the mind brings forth to you. Otherwise, we suffer delay, which is disappointment. And so the teachers have a really nice package. And so any of the viewers, I love being on here several times a year. It's fun. And there's usually a different kind of package. And they said, this time we're going to do time released. We're going to do I want it now, and then savor. And so there's a time released component where you get it, and then you get to keep it, and you can review it and keep it and review it and keep it. And then there's self-study that's all intact, and you can just go through the whole series. And then there's an entire 6-month edition, 6 months of editions of the Synergistic Wellness channeled magazine from the teachers. And it is my pride and joy. I love it, love it, love it, love it. And it's where you get to read, so many of us that are doing this channeling, it is so fun. And it's almost always by video, sometimes in books. It's challenging to get the words out of the video and into the book and get it all, put in its perfection so it can be published. But when we do, it's there. But, a magazine that's 40 or 50 pages, and the letters are nice size for people that need nice size letters. And then botanicals, because there's no thought process that is harmful. I wanted to use this beautiful waterfall the other day, and they said, well, technically speaking, Carol, it's not a botanical, and some people are afraid of falling. And so they guide in ways that are, oh, and they say, it's not that we don't love waterfalls, because we do, but when you're putting it out for publication with the idea that this is healthy living cover to cover, then pull back, pull back on all of those things, pull back on, even little soft bunnies, because you don't know when somebody may have just buried one or wanted to pet one and then couldn't because they didn't have enough time. You don't know who's carrying what emotion. So leave those kind of things out. But botanicals, well, they don't harm the mind of anyone. And so soft and pleasing botanicals it is, and gentle colors all the way throughout. And so it's a time released, and then it's some here and now, and then it's some things that you can savor because it's a page flipper, a digital page flipper. I think you guys are going to love it. I hope you love it.
That's wonderful. So as we get into the time release, I'm assuming that's extraordinary mediumship. So these are different concepts that you're presenting to really cause, you say, an awakening to begin. What if someone already believes they're awakened? There's someone awakened. It's like, where does this meet someone where they believe that they might be or not be?
Well, that does happen. And there are people that have an ability that want to strengthen it, or they want validation. And there are people that believe that they are receiving and they're not. And the teachers have this amazing way of just taking what could be disappointment and turning it into congratulations. And they say, when a human being is producing their own human thought, and it is so powerful and so healthy sounding that their thought is, this must be from my guide. It must be from the beings that are tending to me. Well, that means that your mind has those beautiful thoughts. That means your life has been beautiful, or the phase of your life that you're currently in. And so that's a wonderful contribution to that person and to the global community as a whole. They do validate, but they will never hurt your feelings. But what they do, and I say I say hello in the beginning, I say hello at the end, and otherwise the teachers are teaching. And they go through different specialty topics, and they weave in the essential material, but they use different specialty topics that tap into the unfoldment component of our chakra system. So they're always talking about the blue chakra and the green chakra and the red chakra, and how when they are all in alignment, then they can literally unfold the ribbons of the chakra to produce channeling. And so there's a method. So they say it's a chakra thing. And so it is topic by topic by topic by topic in just enough. You dip your toe in and you pull it back, and you dip your toe in and you pull it back. And then you dip your foot in and you leave it there. And they say that's the way the chakras respond. It's, let's see if there will be positive response. Let's see if there will be positive response. And as soon as there is, then energy sits in there. Think of it like a door that has a spring on it and keeps closing shut. Like a screen door. You open it and it closes shut. The chakra system, they ask the chakra to open and then stay ajar. And if it will, they swirl energy in the gap. They say, mind the gap, mind the gap. They swirl energy in the gap and they leave it there. So in daily meditation, the mind says, oh, I am beginning to awaken. And then they ask it to respond further. And if it does, they add more energy. And so you mind the bigger gap, mind the bigger gap, mind the bigger gap. Now that is a process of awakening. And then you have first flow. I love first flow. I always do announcements within the private community group and in emails when people have had first flow, because it's marked in the grid, but it also shows others that you don't have to study for 10 years. It can be, but you don't have to take that long. You don't have to take any time at all to sit down and do a little bit of silent meditation. And then within a year and a half, 2 years, they will draw channeling out. And it might be 2 sentences, but it's 2 sentences that are from beyond. And your body was willing, your physical body was willing to sit still and say, I will not think on my own. I will take your words instead. Oh, it's a vibration. Now I need to translate it into my language. I will, after that's done, ask the human form to speak the words. I will receive, translate, and speak the words. It's just a human being who found alignment. And if you can find it once, you can find it again and again and again and again and again. And so they draw it out and they highlight it. It's a process, though. It's not overnight. Psychic ability is meant for manifesting. When we learn how to hone our skill with affirmations and with mantras and with, Jose Silva did the mind control original theories on how you use repetition to cause manifesting. And that's using psychic nature. And you can use it on anything, but use it on health and positive emotion and drawing friendly experiences to you, because all of those create just organic happy, and organic happy helps to cause you to step into your own personal awakening. So it's a wonderful, brief, multi-segment introduction on many of the topics that they do deep dives in a lot of the things. Certainly a lot of in the 6 editions of the Wellness magazine, there's a lot in there, and it's
As I want to ask you, as we go into these concepts, how long are each of the concepts that you go through? And then there's the video series as well. So is Extraordinary Mediumship, is that a video series also? They're getting videos?
It is. So it's pre-recorded videos, and they're going to be released. That's the time released. And so weekly you'll get series of videos and watch them in order. All the instructions are there, and then listen to them again and again throughout that week. So it's meant to be gentle reminder that as human beings, we need repetition. And sometimes you have these fast and furious, this is the series, watch it. And then you do, and then you put it away, and then you have appreciation for it, and maybe you go back and listen to it again. But in this way, they say, just stay with lesson 1, stay with it, stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. And then lesson 2 comes out. And if you really love lesson 1, stay with it a little longer. Use positive emotion where you have it. And then savor lesson 2. And so it's time released. Now, the second item is a series of videos that talk specifically about who the teachers are, and then about each pillar. So I think they're 20 or 30 minutes in length, each of them. It's an introduction to each pillar that is much more in depth than what I could do on my own. And also they're longer. And then the 6 editions of the magazine, which is really fun.
Yeah, and again, this is a deep dive, and you say they're introductions, but your introductions are pretty deep, and the alignment that takes place and the invitation of the subconscious with an awareness of how we're creating for the subconscious. And again, knowing the pillars, the why behind it. It's again, the way that you teach is quite extraordinary. And I really appreciate that you put it in a package in this way. Because for me, no matter where we are, or our belief of where we are in these different concepts, none of these different concepts and these different points along the path of that deeper connection to our non-physical teachers and to each other. Um, it really provides a solid foundation on which to continue building from and become more self-aware of how we're building. This is an amazing course, or courses or videos and opportunities to dive in with Carol. And Carol's bringing it to Beyond the Ordinary for $147 in this special offer. And there's a 2 payment option on that, 30-day money back guarantee on everything that we offer on Beyond the Ordinary. So I highly encourage you to participate and to dive in and to find a path that's really going to empower you um, to create in a manner that you want to create, manifest in the manner that you desire to manifest, and then um, really discover more of what's available to you as you awaken to even more of you. Carol, this is fantastic. Thank you for this. We may open to Q&A, but we're speaking a lot. So if you guys have a questions, we may get into it in a little bit. Raise your hands and we'll see what opens up there. Carol, you're talking about, again, I'll talk and finding those nuggets of joy, of inspiration along the way, the boxes that we're building upon. But there could also be the possibility that what we're putting in our boxes is creating inertia. So the awareness of the negative self-talk, the awareness of putting things that are not necessarily propelling us forward, but actually keeping us in a circular motion rather than a spiral motion of growth. Can you speak a little bit more about that and how we can become more aware of how we're choosing to alchemize our realities?
Think about what the teacher said, swept away with enthusiasm. The inner mind, the non-physical mind, manifests to us. So your non-physical team is teaching the non-physical mind how to respond on demand, respond on demand, respond on demand, respond on demand, and then manifest. So the awakening, the unfoldment, the channeling, or the manifesting of anything, we're the recipient of what the non-physical mind is willing to do. And it creates more willingness when we're joyful, when we're happy, when we feel healthy, when we like what we're doing in the moment. Then it has natural organic willingness. And so, we think so much about vision boards and manifesting, and I want this, and I want to do it just right, and I want to do this mantra, and I want to make time for meditation, it's this process. We're so structured. And sometimes, isn't it nice to just say, it's a whole lot easier than that? If you picture, this is my physical self, and my physical self is the receiver. We are being given manifestations from our own non-physical mind, but we're the receiver. We don't have to effort into it. We don't have to struggle. We just need to choose happy, because when we choose happy and when we make time for slowing down thought and really making time to do that happy journal or whatever your favorite pastime is, your favorite pastime, not the grumpy pastime, which might be our favorite thing, is our favorite thing, but we don't put enough time in the day for it. So now we're rushed to do it and it leaves us grumpy. Make time for things, slow down and meander. So when we think about what is happening in the awakening, and so many people are wanting to know how to heal faster, how to heal holistically, how to heal with guidance, how to do this mudra and non-physical movement and help participate with the manipulation of that. And then also, am I hearing my guide? I feel like things are just happening like clockwork. It's day after day, life seems pretty easy. Is it intuition? Am I feel, just say, I think it is. I hope it is. And I want more of it. I like this and I'm eager for more. I like both of those. But remember now that the non-physical mind is in communication. It is in communication with your non-physical team. And its response and its willingness and its patience is based on what we're using in the moment. If we're impatient, it will be as well. If we're frustrated, it will be as well, which means less willingness. So adopt friendly, adopt gentle, adopt more, I like it, and then the manifesting that comes to our physical self is greater and more robust evidence of being on the right track, that we're holding space for happy long enough. It's just a visual technique. This is me. This is my subconscious mind. And my guide is training the subconscious mind to have quick and fast, positive reflexes for guidance, and then to manifest it. And so sometimes there is a delay in presenting conversation that has been received, and there is delay in manifesting. That's because the subconscious is being shown what to do and how to do it and how much, and then also given it the nudge to not just be satisfied under the surface, but to manifest it to us. And so it's a process, and it's a beautiful suite of tools that they bring forward. It is introductory. It's level 1. Every once in a while, there's somebody that comes in and they just congratulate them, and they invite them into a moment to have some kind of conveyance shared with the whole class session. That's always fun. And then I mark it down, because when someone steps into that ability, I just say, this is another person just like me. This is another person. This is more evidence that non-physical beings everywhere are getting through to us. It's nice.
I really appreciate when you shared just a little moment ago about not being satisfied when we hit that initial superficial level, and the invitation to go deeper. Because a lot of times just that relief is enough to satiate the discomfort that we may have been feeling by not getting somewhere. Just the little morsel, the little sip of water seems like it satisfies us enough in the desert. And there's so much more that's available. And to learn that we can go deeper, that that we have the capacity and availability to drink more from that well. It's a huge part of access that we have if we only remember or know to look beyond the surface.
Beyond the ordinary, says James to speak. It's beyond the ordinary, because the ordinary is everyday life. How do you have extraordinary lives? You look beyond plain. You look beyond routine. You look beyond habit. You look beyond boredom. And so you also can be, and we want you to be, satisfied, but add on with words. This here right now feels satisfying, and I'm eager for more. I like what I'm doing now, and I'm eager for more of it, because you don't want satisfied in the moment to equal the amount of satisfaction on that topic forevermore. You don't want permanent satisfied for that amount that you've had. You want to tell the mind it is analytical, and it is tiny little boxes of information. It is eager to please, but it's not a being. It is threads of intelligence, and they do what they do. Draw information and create with it, draw information and create with it. And so we go through those technicalities week after week after week, and in private conversation as well. Because alignment occurs faster. The positivity movement is here, and it's here to stay. But you are all asking for more. You're asking for, but how do I do it? I see and I heard what that person has done, but that doesn't fit my specific situation. How do I do it? How do I do it? And so we could never get to everyone across this globe. We could never get to everyone through one human being. And so there are more than one. Channel people are who we teach through. Clairvoyant, we provide guidance, personal guidance, but the movement of the mind, when you understand it, then you can apply it on demand for the situation that you are facing. And that's what we want for all of you. Independence, empowerment. We illuminate, and then you have something to work with. You have been illuminated on the power of positivity, on the usefulness of positive emotion for the perfect amount of time. And now we're offering you more. And we will do so for the perfect amount of time. And then we will add on if it is needed, or we will step back and let you use that which you have understood. But you need to understand it, confirm your comprehension. No assumptions, no assumptions. Let it be a glorious life, not an assumed life. And you will get where you're going faster. We love these conversations. Are there any questions for us if you're ready for it?
Well, we have one question came from Science. She wants to know if the course is alive or purely a replay. That's a course.
They are replay, and you have permanent access to them, and you can watch them at your leisure. And the magazine editions themselves are digital, and so you have those as a permanent contribution to yourself as well.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Question for Carol, and y'all, the link for the special offer is in the chat box, and we're going to be running the replay as well all the rest of the week. So we'll send a link out for the replay a little bit later, and you can always access replays at beyondtheordinaryshow.com/replay. And the link for the special offer, if you're watching this on another channel, you can't find the link, just go to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/marketplace, and you can find all the special offer there, including Carol's and the guides. For you to access and start benefiting from as well. Carol, I have a question for you. What challenges, if any, arise for you in your connection to your non-physical guides, your non-physical teachers?
Oh gosh, sometimes sleep deprived.
Okay.
Because you get in these conversations and then notebook in hand. And it's, October, November, and early December, they do a lot of teaching me, and I'm writing and taking notes and drawing pictures and having things corrected. And then they use that as part of the newest wave of information that they're bringing through. And so in this autumn season, there's always a lot of late nights. They're very fun late nights though. And the other thing is, work-life balance is work and social and life balance. And that's something that I think channelers everywhere, because you have work and then you have guidance, and your guidance sometimes aligns to work. And so it's work, 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 and me, and then fitting in social life. And so it's just a nice thing to remind people that holidays are here, but not everybody is doing holidays. Some people are working. And so work-life balance is something that we all could use a little reminder. It's work, life, and social balance. And I think with the work that I do and working, you too, when you work on Zoom and you work by video and you work remote, and you're doing all these live stream things, it is delightful, but also afternoon and evenings can occupy your time. And so how do you do social? It takes pencil on paper and saying, this is important. And I have a list that I keep. This is work, this is family, this is me. And then these things are what's important to me. And those things I always put social life within the, top quadrant. It's clear-minded, and then activations,
Mm,
doing the energy work to stay healthy. And that's really what channeled people, channeled mediums and channelers, it's really what we need to make sure that the content that's coming through is enriching and deeper and provides more and more and more. And so it's just a wonderful thing. I say, if anybody's ever in the Alexandria, Virginia, and you want to just sit down and have coffee or tea or pastry, you will find me here on a computer, and always only with one earbud, because I like to make sure that I am appearing accessible. And that's something, that's social life is sometimes hard to come by when you
mm,
are working so hard, morning, noon, and night. But that's what energy work. It keeps you aware, keeps you looking up, talking to people. Yeah.
mm.
What do you what do you think? What's your hardest thing with doing the same kind of work? What do you think is your biggest challenge?
Well, I find in the busyness that I have to really dedicate myself to those periods of silence that you spoke about, because those are really the most profound. And so in the hecticness and keeping up with being pulled in many different directions, to sit down consistently for that connection and that quietness really instructs my life, where the balance comes a lot more naturally. It's I step away from the ego, and I'm really in attuned more to an alignment of what's calling, rather than a reaction of what's calling. The social part's difficult as well, because again, finding it's that connection to spirit and guidance is so profound that that's I won't say that's the surface, but in human form, being satiated by only that, um, there's a richness that wants to be exchanged. We're in physical form for a reason,
Yeah.
and to remember the joy of that, um, and how beautiful those connections can be. It's the constant reminder. Um,
I said in the beginning that I do call them my non-physical best friends. And, they do guide me, and they're the ones that brought forward work, life, and social balance. And, my response back to them was, these abilities came about 5.5 years ago. And so I feel like I won the lottery. I feel like, wow, now this is what my whole life was what I'm here for. The purpose has been revealed. This is it, and I'm loving it. It's the power of law of attraction meets soul intention in a way that says I'm experiencing the intention and I love it. And I just say this is for this phase of my life at this moment in time. This is my social life. I love having conversations with them. They're funny. And when good pure channeling comes forward, they know how to make you laugh, and they know how to bring little nuggets of memory forward, little words that they use, and they just make you feel like they are definitely remember when beings. They are constant companions, that's for sure. But it's the verbal capacity sure does make it like companions and best
oh,
friends, and sometimes they are my social life. It's
nice.
you know all things in moderation, except for that one. That one is, it's the content and it's the phase of my life, I think, where this is supremely important. And I feel like it's needed. It's good, feels good.
I'm curious if, from an energetic standpoint, and how your physical body reacts, if you ever go through periods where you feel like you're being stretched, And sometimes after a channeling session, people can say, "Oh my God, I feel so sleepy. I need to go lay down," or I feel like I need to come into my body. Or for some people, it can be that it's too much. Is there any of that that comes up for you, or for people that you work with?
Never, 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 never. I would say, words have definitions. And we as human beings, we use all kinds of words to describe what we're doing. And sometimes when people say they're channeling or receiving, they are using human thought. And when you are thinking and producing on the same subject matter for a length of time, even if you don't know it, it can be beautiful information, but it could be human thinking that's coming forward and you find it so beautiful you think it's received. That can cause exhaustion. It can cause sleepiness. It can cause a train of thought that goes and goes and goes and goes and goes, and then the energy is gone, and you really feel like taking a nap. And if it's beautiful uh, um, thoughts or writing that you're pouring out, sometimes the mind will say, "This is so beautiful. I think I do need a nap."
Mm,
And in the nap, your non-physical team can get a little bit of emotional things taken care of. But true channeling will always leave you energized. There is what they call a push of non-physical energy through the center point of the solar plexus, and it pushes forward and then outward. They say, for me, it pushes forward and all the way around and circulates. And I have couple of students. They have a couple of students, and I have a couple of students. Um, say teacher with a lowercase t because they capitalize teacher, because I am there, and as a consciously aware channeler, I do hear the conversation. But I have a few that are in the class that can see the push of energy and have seen it come forward and then circulating all the way around, which is fun. Um, that energy is healing the blue chakra and the green chakra, the throat and the heart chakra. And it keeps them pliable and keeps the channeled ability strong. And then every so often, um, there's alignment with the crown to bring in deeper existential knowledge. And it's how do you know? How do you know? How do you know what to do and when to do it? We don't. We go by assumption, and we go by assumption in everything we do, except for when they're providing information. And
mm,
it's fascinating. No, I don't get exhausted um, with channeling in the moment. I find it energizing. I get bored when I am doing the rest of business.
mm,
You get interested in what you're doing. Computer work or doing the graphic design or doing whatever supplemental things. But when you're all by yourself and you're working so hard and you're doing those things, then you do need a break and then begin again, or
mm.
section off your day so you can target different things on your to-do list. But as soon as a conversation comes through, it just captures your attention in a way that time doesn't really seem to matter in that moment.
Yeah, I feel you. I love that you describe it that way as well. Carol, this is amazing. It's y'all going deeper with Carol again. Extraordinary mediumship, the special offer package, $147. The link's in the chat box. Click on that. At least keep it open while you read through it after we hang up here in a few minutes. And like I said earlier, the replay will be up a little after we end tonight's call, so you can come back and dive back in on this amazing, enlightening conversation. Carol's always extraordinary having you on. Thank you for the way that you have made yourself available to receive and teach from that very direct awareness, and for making it available for so many other people, um, and guiding and providing tools that are effective and actionable and where you can see the results from. Um, it's really that your work is wonderful. Thank you again for what you do, how you're doing it, and thank you for being on the show today.
Back at you, without platforms like this, there's a much smaller distribution for the existential teaching that so many of us are bringing through. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And all the viewers too. It's a Tuesday
Mm,
night and you guys are all here from across the globe and you're all here. That's because John's amazing. The energy's amazing, the show, and
mm.
also, the teaching. It's fun.
It's all alignment. So beautiful. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, everybody. It's wonderful to feel you here. Until the next call, namaste.